Hello, and welcome back to my podcast, Pulling Back the Curtain with Vinny Ali. I'm your host, Vinny Ali. In today's episode, I want to give a shout out to our dear friend Joe. Joe is our official first fan and has been a huge champion for us to keep going with the podcast, even if we are being a little more creative in our adventures. That's correct. No problems, just solutions, and just production adventures. So today we're going to give a shout out to him. Thank you, Joe. You're the man. And we're going to talk about the newest thing that's going on. So, if you all know me at all, last year and the year before that, I competed in a competition called the Next Face of Horror. Now, the Next Face of Horror is an online competition where you vote for who you think should be the next horror icon in this competition. Now, the cool thing is, it's not just a opportunity for me to be a working actor again, to get $13,000, to work with Kane Hodder, the original actor of Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th fame, or anything, be it interviewed in Rogue Magazine and whatnot. Those are all great things. The big thing is we're raising money for cancer children, children with cancer survivors. We're raising money for them and helping them and their families feel more comfortable as they go through this trauma. Now, you can go to thefaceofhorror.com and look for my face. I'm going to include the hyperlink in the description at the end of the podcast. Don't worry, I got you guys. And we're going to try to win this thing. It has been 3 years running that we've not won, but we've raised together cumulatively over $7,000, which is fantastic. I'm ballparking it based on how far I got in the competition and how generous all my friends and family and whoever else felt that I was the best fit for it to go. And I just can't say thank you enough. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be great to win this whole thing and have the money, the fame, meeting Kane and everything like that. It would be wonderful. But the real big thing is we get to help the community, and that's what it should really be all about. At my company, I have a chance to help the community every day by treating people like people, being kind to them, and letting them feel heard and seen. During the pandemic, going to my company made me feel normal. It was a very cathartic thing, and anytime I get to help a nonprofit, I'm for, very much for. I used to work for a company called the People's Light and Theater, which is a magnificent theater based out of Malvern, which is also a non-profit. And I felt genuinely good working there. You know, we got to do I got to watch some amazing shows. I got to bring some joy to the kids and concessions and, play around with the puppets and just be a complete nerd. What was cool though is that when you're a part of a nonprofit, you're doing something good for the community. Yeah, the pay isn't groundbreaking, but you feel good. You feel good at the end of the day doing that. So, go to thefaceofhorror.com and vote for me. It's free. If you want to donate money, you can. That's perfectly fine. I'm not pushing it. But just know that if and when you do donate money by voting for me or whoever you feel is best fit for the next Face of Horror, you're helping raise money for children that are dealing with something they shouldn't have to. Kids shouldn't have to face life and death at such an early age. It's just childhood is a very innocent and important part of growing up. And I feel that when children are forced to face their mortality at such a young age, anywhere, in any country, it's a failure on the parents' part. It's a failure on the adults of the world. The adults should be taking more responsibility for their actions to not allow this to happen. I'm not saying that children can prevent cancer in children, but I believe that adults can be equipped and more practiced in helping them cope and survive and move forward so that they too can become adults one day, hopefully, and do the same for their children and help heal the world. I mean, that's the whole point of living, is to help the next generation, right? Existing to help move forward the human condition. That's my thought process on it, at least. We need to make people take responsibility for their actions. And some actions is inaction and leads to bad things happening. And it's a shame. The world needs more kindness and goodness, and to be brave enough to say, no, this is not okay. We're poisoning our waters, we're poisoning our food, we're poisoning each other because we can make a profit, and that's not what being human's all about. I know I'm only 38, and I haven't lived on this world long enough to know anything of anything. But I feel like we're doing ourselves an injustice if we're not standing up for what's right and accepting the consequences that come with it. It may not always be pretty, but there's right and there's wrong. And I know that people will argue that, sometimes you gotta do the wrong thing to get the right thing done. And I get that. But doing the right thing is never easy or pretty. But at least you go to bed with a clean conscience, right? And I feel like that's very important. I have a lot of phrases that I live by. And they're not really things that any one person has told me. It's more I've learned on my own and figured it out. If you can't go to bed with a clean conscience, don't bother going to bed at all. That's a good one. I have 3 rules when I work any job and any position, whether it's what I love to do or like to do because it helps the community. Rule number 1. If you wouldn't serve it to your mother, you wouldn't serve it to a guest. Rule number 2. Set the next guy up for success. Most likely it's going to be you. Don't be a dick to future you. And rule number 3, when in doubt, refer to rule number 1. Make your mama proud. Treat that person the way you would like to be treated on the other side of the counter. Hopefully with dignity and respect. The world is very big and vast and also very small and tiny. And there's not a lot that we can control, but there is a lot we can control. I know, oxymoron, ADHD brain. What I'm saying is, as my mom keeps telling me every day, we gotta focus on what you can control, not what you can't. You can focus on how you react to things, how you control things, and a lot of times the fears you have are just fears in your head. They're not real unless you give them power. That being said, when you go on your day today, do your best to focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Be brave in the choices you make, and be proud of the consequences that come with them. Hopefully there'll be consequences you can live with. Anywho's, that's our episode for today. Go to thefaceofhorror.com and vote for me, Vinny Ali. I would really like to win this competition, and I would really like to raise as much money as we can for this society, this nonprofit. They change it every year, and I think it's great, but it's always for children. It's interesting because, I've learned that horror films and science fiction is cathartic for a lot of people because they're allowed to be scared in a safe environment. And these horror icons help people more so than just scare them. So go forth, be brave, be bold, be courageous, be you, and above all else, do your best. And that's the show. I'm Vinny Ali, and this has been Pulling Back the Curtain with Vinny Ali. Thank you for your time.